I'm sure that you guys saw the devastating results from Super Tuesday Part 3. I just did a video on that. Go and watch it afterwards if you'd like. I went into detail about why this happened. Basically, this is not an optimal situation that we find ourselves in now going forward in this primary. You know, Bernie Sanders is at a stark disadvantage in delegate counts, and I mean, everything else is already stacked against him, as you already know. The entire might of corporate America and the mainstream media are putting all their pressure on him. It's not an easy battle. Given what's happened, Bernie Sanders, as we can all imagine, he's probably under a lot of stress. Basically, he was talking to a reporter today. All right, I'm going to pull up the article. I'm going to show you what happened.
What's your time frame for making a decision?
I'm dealing with a global crisis. Right now, I'm trying to do my best to make sure that we don't have an economic meltdown and that people don't die. Is that enough for you to keep me busy for today?
So this fellow over here, Manu Rajo, as you can see, he is a senior congressional correspondent at CNN. His job is basically running around Capitol Hill. Bernie Sanders lost it with him, understandably so. I love it. I love it. And I think this exemplifies where Bernie stands, where his heart is. Even though Bernie Sanders is not doing exactly well right now in terms of clenching the Democratic nomination, he's focused on this crisis, on this pandemic, and making sure that people actually have money in their pockets, food to eat. He's really more concerned with this pandemic than he is about being hounded about his campaign. I mean, the guy knows he's being provocative here. He's asking him, what is your time frame for making a decision? Which is newspeak for when are you going to drop out? Basically trying to provoke him and get a reaction. The guy knows that Bernie Sanders just took a devastating blow last night. He's like, what about your campaign? What about your campaign? This is so typical of the mainstream media. They're like paparazzi, right? And on top of it, I mean, I wouldn't blame him, man. The guy is being shafted and screwed over at every turn from the mainstream media, in the debates, by the establishment, by Wall Street, by the corporations. They're trying everything in their power to screw him over. And this is part two. This is part two. Okay. So let's cut him some slack here. And, you know, obviously the mainstream media, they're already making a big thing out of it. Oh my God, Bernie Sanders lost his temper. Yeah, no shit, asshole. You know why? Because he is not interested in being hounded about his campaign. He's more interested in making sure that this crisis is resolved. Because as you can see already, very clearly in the White House, you have an orangutan who is doing absolutely nothing. I mean, Donald Trump is moving at a snail's pace. And okay, we're going to get into some of the measures that he's now implementing. But the United States and the UK are doing an absolutely horrible job here, as some of you are saying, okay? This is the Bernie Sanders that we needed during the debates. If only he had turned to Joe Biden and said, I'm dealing with a fucking crisis, okay? We need this cranky old Bernie. We need his, I mean, look, he's already yelling all the time, rightfully so. But we need a bit more of that edge, more of that spice, okay? A lot of politicians are talking about measures that can be taken to give people financial security. Because obviously, when a lot of businesses are closing, people are quarantining, you can't go out and work. And so you're losing money, you have no income. So there's been a lot of talk now about UBI. I'm going to get into the response from the Trump administration. But just quickly, I want to show you a clip from Bernie Sanders addressing the coronavirus crisis and some form of UBI just from last night. I think it was last night. So let's take a look.
What I believe we must do is empower Medicare to cover all medical bills during this emergency. Now, this is not Medicare for all. We can't pass that right now. But what this does say is that if you're uninsured, if you are underinsured, if you have high deductibles, if you have high copayments, if you have out-of-pocket expenses, Medicare will cover those expenses so that everybody, regardless of their health care needs, and I'm not just talking about the coronavirus, but their health care needs in the midst of this crisis will get all the health care that they need. We need to provide a direct emergency $2,000 cash payment to every household in America every month for the duration of the crisis to provide them with the assistance they need to pay their bills and take care of their families. We must place an immediate moratorium on evictions, on foreclosures, and utility shutoffs, and suspend payment on mortgage loans for primary residences and utility bills. We need to prevent price gouging by pharmaceutical companies. As soon as a coronavirus vaccine is developed, it must be sold for free.
Essentially, what Bernie Sanders is saying, everyone should be given $2,000 a month UBI for the foreseeable future. Now, this is very important. A lot of people have been talking about this. I mean, Kamala Harris was also talking about this, and she was floating the figure of $500 out there. What are you going to do with $500, man? Come on. She just can't stop. She's so horrible, you know? Now, look, I think the 2,000 figure proposed by Bernie Sanders is reasonable. That's not the only thing he said. What he's talking about is also putting a hold on mortgages, debts, student loan debts, all kinds of utilities and bills that people can obviously not afford to pay when the goddamn economy is coming to a standstill. And that's not only him. Tulsi Gabbard's also talking about the exact same thing. I think she introduced a resolution, I was reading it earlier, is about $1,000 a month, but she was also talking about putting a hold on student loan debts, mortgages, payments that people have to make on a monthly basis on hold. Obviously, that's the right thing to do. This shows you the clear contrast between Bernie Sanders' priorities and Joe Biden's priorities. Bernie Sanders has his mind, has his heart in the right place, even when he is taking a beating from these cocksuckers in the political establishment after they're trying to fuck him over a second time, even worse than the last time. What is he doing? He's focused on fixing this crisis that we're going through right now. He's focused on making sure that people don't go broke, that people have something to eat, that people don't get sick. And these motherfuckers are running around Capitol Hill, literally hounding him for some kind of soundbite. Well, you got it, assholes. There you go.